Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Fighting Chat podcast. We're going to be discussing UFC Fight Night, Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. This time it's going to be for the main card. If you want to listen to what we had to say about the prelims, you can do, because we did one for the prelims. So now we're moving on to the main card. And the very first fight to discuss is Renato Moicano versus Jai Black Country Banger Herbert. Good fight. Good fight. You know I like Jai Herbert. He's my Che Mills, isn't he? So it's a shame he got done. But he was still really good in this fight. And he showed a lot of skills on the feet and on the ground, a bit of defending and all that. He ended up being worn down and overwhelmed by Moicano, though, with grappling, ground strikes, and then a choke finish in round two. Oh, must be obviously I'm on here on my own. Oh, no, hang on. You've got a mouthful of Malteser cake bar.
Right now, I'm almost
Hello
through
there. It. Hello there. Okay, well, I take it you've been listening at least. Now it's time to hear what you've got to say.
Did I see that right? That some betting outlets had Jai Herbert as the favourite?
Oh, I didn't notice. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. He's brilliant.
I wouldn't have had him as the favourite, though. That had definitely been one that I'd have had my money on Moicano. He's had a little bit of a rough time of it lately. You know, he was sort of on the crest of a wave. And then it all kind of came crashing down on him, didn't it? He got beaten by Aldo, got beaten by Chanson Young, got beaten by Fiziev. The fight prior to this one, that Fiziev, he is powers. So he's taken a little bit of a knock, hasn't he, really? But I still think he's really good. I think he's good on the feet and I think he's good on the floor. So I just looked at this a little bit like, I don't know why Herbert is the favourite here. Even though I think Herbert looks nice and loose on his feet, he looks like he'll give a lot of people problems. I still thought that experience-wise and that kind of stuff, that Moicano was going to be the favourite here, and that's how it sort of turned out. He was.
Well, the bookies don't know nothing, obviously.
He got the win, but he definitely got his bell rung a couple of times by Jai Herbert early on. I think that probably led to a bit of a switch in game plan. Maybe not a massive switch, but I think it made him a little bit more one-dimensional, and he thought, right, I'm definitely just going to look to grapple this guy. Whereas before, I think he opened the fight probably thinking, I'm happy to stand and trade a bit, see what's going on the feet. I think after the first couple of minutes, he thought, right, I'm not staying.
Looks pretty good, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. This guy could do me if we stay standing up. So let's see what I've got on the ground. And when he got it to the ground, he realised that he had a lot more. You know, the skill differential was much larger on the ground than it was on the feet. Because Herbert, to me, I will give the advantage to Herbert on the feet. Definitely, he definitely looked better. The striking exchanges, but the gap between the striking exchanges and the dominance that Moicano had on the feet was there for all to see, wasn't it? And then he just eventually, like you say, wore him down. And I think he didn't surrender his neck, but I think his neck was far easier to get to because it softened him up for a couple of rounds. So
yeah, definitely. Is Jai Herbert? Is he the bloke? He's part of the reason that Dan Hardy's been P40'd. He is.
Well, I mean, we don't know that for sure. You'd have to ask Dan himself. But yeah, I think he is the guy that, you know, was at the centre of the stop the fight.
Herb Dean one, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, against our mate Trinaldo. So he's had a bit of a rough start, Jai Herbert. I have to say, Moicano and Trinaldo, the reason I say it's a rough start is because, not because they're necessarily the two best fighters in the world. They're not, you know, two title contenders. It's because they're two really experienced, tough guys without much name or market value. So if you beat them, no one's going to get too carried away with you and go, my God, he just beat a top 5 guy. And if you lose to him, everyone kind of goes, well, you lost to Masaranduba, who looks about 8,000 years old. So there's not much to gain, but a lot of risk against those guys. I think they're good fighters.
Yeah.
And if you beat them, you just don't get the recognition you deserve because for whatever reason, those two fighters aren't household names. So he's had a couple of crap ones. Hopefully, he gets something a bit easier in his next fight.
Well, I hope they don't get rid, because I think he's brilliant, Herbert.
Well, he's only had two, and he has lost them both. But I think both against two very good opponents, top 20, both of them for sure. Maybe not scraping into the 15s yet, but top 20. I think they're both brilliant. You know, we like Masaranduba loads.
He's the best.
He's like the granddad we never had.
Yeah, he's amazing. Such a great sense of humor and everything. Who's he supposed to get then? He can't have big names yet because he's new to it. And yeah, that's what they say. Everyone's a tough out in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Well, that may be the case, but you know, Moicano has had 11 fights in the UFC now. I'll give you some of the names he's fought. He's fought Jeremy Stevens, Brian Ortega, Calvin Cater, Cub Swanson, Jose Aldo, Chang Sung Yung, Fiziev, all in his first 10. I mean, he's had a baptism of fire himself, hasn't he?
There you go. Yeah.
Going off that. But, you know, you look at that and he's fighting the next featherweight contender. He's fought the greatest featherweight of all time. He's fought Cub Swanson, who's always, let's just say fan favourite. He's fought Calvin Cater, who's a top 5 featherweight. He's fought Chan Sung Yung, who's fought for the belt. I mean, he's had a real nasty sort of run.
Yeah, you feel sorry for Jai Herbert. What about him?
Yeah, well, he's definitely been done as well. But
I'll tell you what then. Who's Jai Herbert to face? You say you want to give him someone, well, you said these words, easier. You know, we have to be careful who you choose now, because you're going to be saying he's an easy fight.
Yeah, I've got enough guys on my tail already.
Yeah. So who are you giving him?
Well, look, Masaranduba's had 23 UFC fights.
Oh, yeah. No, he is a true veteran. They say that about anyone, but he really is.
He's had 23 UFC fights and he's only lost 7. So he's won 16 of 23.
Yeah, brilliant.
And Jai Herbert got him on his debut. You know what I mean? Do you really think... I'm not saying that...
Well, no, answer the question then. I'm
not saying you can't ever make those matchups. Of course you can, because we just discussed on the prelims, Wells banged out Wally Alves, who's got loads of UFC fights and beaten Colby Covington, right? So I'm not saying you can't ever make those matchups. But he lost. He lost to Trinaldo, right? Cost Dan Hardy his job. So he's havoc in and out of the cage. Why not just give him someone who maybe has had 2 or 3 UFC fights, maybe won and lost one? I can't give you a name off the top of my head. I'm just saying give him someone who's maybe 50-50 in the UFC, or has maybe won one, or guess what? Maybe even making their debut. How about that? Because he's only had 1 UFC fight. I just think giving him someone else who's fought all those, amazing names that we've said, I just think it's a bit nasty. That's all.
All right. Then give me his next matchup then.
Told you someone who's 1-1 or making their debut.
Solve it. Look, this is an interesting one, right? You say who you think he should fight next, and then we'll see who he does fight next. See if it matches. Good one.
My knowledge of that weight class ain't that deep. I can't just pluck a name of a Spanker's welterweight out of thin air.
Well, then nor can Shelby and Maynard then.
Okay, I'll give you a name.
Right.
How about the guy who was on the prelims, Damir Hadzovic? He's had more UFC. He's had 8 UFC fights, but he's won 4, lost 4. Give him in. There you go, done. Something a little bit more, similar experience. He's a bit of a win one, lose one. Give him someone like that. Stop giving him people who've had 23 fights, won 16 all in the UFC, and fought title contenders, this, that, and the other. That's just a bit much. I'm sure that Herbert's good enough to compete with these guys. He's shown he has, right? He had a good fight with Trinaldo. And he was, let's be honest, he was doing good against Moicano for the first few minutes while it was standing. I'm just saying, ease people in. Stop throwing them to the wolves.
All right, Damir Hadzovic then.
Is it Maynard or Shelby doing his naff job? It just like DeFranco on the Ultimate Fighter. I think I've got to take over bloody well matchmaking now and all.
Might have to. Right. Well, let's see who they do give him next, and we can make the decision then on whether we think it was reasonable or not.
All right.
Because maybe they have been a bit out of order to him. Next fight, Tim, the Dirty Bird Means, versus Nicholas. He's got a new nickname, Danish Dynamite Dalby.
Right. Well, what do you want to comment on first? The nickname or the?
Let's go for the new nickname.
It's all right. It's done a triple D. Danish Dynamite Dalby. It sort of works, I guess.
A bit run of the mill, though, isn't it? A bit
great,
obvious.
It ain't great. But
what was it before? Some sort of locomotive or something, wasn't it?
Ooh,
You're supposed to know these things. This is what.
Yeah, well, this is like I've said to you before. If you're going to ask these crap questions, ask them before I get on here. And
no, it's not like that. We don't do planning. That's why I thought you were here for these sort of things.
I think that's better.
What was it? Locomotive.
Locomotivo.
Locomotivo. No,
yeah.
What does that even mean?
I guess that's the Danish word for locomotive.
Yeah, but is it?
I don't know. I don't care either.
Well, you're supposed to know that as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm supposed
to have the Danish word for locomotive?
Ancient Australian dialect, Danish dialect, and also everybody's fighting nicknames. And whoever's making their debut in the welterweight division. I think it's a bit nasty. What, you just sit there scratching your backside?
Well, now you can comment on the fight.
Well, this fight, right, I think we should declare an interest here. We really like Tim Dirty Bird Means, didn't we?
One of our favourites. Simple as that.
Yeah, liked him for ages. Been around the block. And I would really hate to fight in the octagon after he's had a fight in it. You know why?
It stinks.
Well, it probably does. He's blowing his nose all over the canvas every 2 seconds.
Ooh,
there is no way that if you fight after Tim Means has had a fight, I don't care if they go in there with a bacterial spray, right? There's no way that you ain't getting a bit of snot on your back or the sole of your foot. I mean, he's like
bad,
a footballer.
That, isn't it?
Yeah, he's like a footballer, constantly, out of his nose.
Well, he's the dirty bird.
Yes, he's agreed. Yeah, he's tried to warn you. But yeah, I think he's really good, Tim Means. But the issue I have with him, the worry I have with him, he's a little bit Dustin Poirier pre-McGregor too, as in he gets rocked every fight. And this was no different. This was a fight he was in complete control of. He looks better. And then he got stung really hard at the start of the third round. And he knew he got stung hard because he did do the very definition of, he just saw it out, clung on for dear life. He just held on to Dolby against the cage and went, nope, I ain't taking a risk like that again, which I'm glad about because I think if there had been too much more separation, he would have run the risk of getting done because I don't know why he came out for the third round like that. Swinging, exchanging. He should have kept it the pace slow. If not, barely anything happened that round, he should have been happy.
Yeah.
But him being him, he pressured forward. He stayed in the pocket. He paid for it, almost with the getting knocked out. Luckily for us, because we like him, he held on. But typical Tim Means fight. It was good for the first 2 rounds. Enjoyed the fight for the first 2 rounds. But he can't ever just have a nice, straightforward, easy win. It's always something's got to happen. I guess that's why it's exciting to watch, right?
Yeah, definitely. And look, let's be fair to Dolby, who we said, I think a couple of podders ago, we said we've done a bit of a change on him. And the last fight we saw, he was actually pretty good. And honestly, I guess Dalby's simply good now because I thought he was brilliant.
I thought he was all right, yeah, as well. I mean, they made a lot of issue about his breathing.
I liked that.
To me, he was controlling his breathing.
Yeah.
He wasn't going, like you do when you're running or anything. He was controlling breathing, especially when he was in positions where he could control it, like the clinch, where rather than letting his inhalations and exhalations just run wild, he was controlling them. He was composing deep breath of it. When they get back to the corner, what do they say? Breathe. They try and get them to control and stem their breathing patterns. That's what he was doing in mid-fight when he had the opportunity. I admit that hearing it straight off the bat, you might go, what's going on here? Which they did. I think the fact that he was still throwing, still fighting fine in round 3 shows that it wasn't because he gassed himself out. I think gassing yourself out shows more in the way you fight and your punches and stuff like that than it does in your breathing patterns. To me, he was just controlling his breathing, and I thought it was good. I agree with you. he was someone that I was like, I really don't rate this guy. Now I'm like, I actually think he's decent. I think he's a decent UFC level fighter. He's all right.
definitely.
He ain't better than Dirty Bird.
No, he got done. Dirty Bird won by unanimous decision in that fight, but it was a good fight, a tough fight. I'll do the classic. Tim Means knows he's been in a fight for sure.
Yep.
Dalby's stock ain't gone down, all that stuff, because again, there was a lot of eyes on him. He was on the main card. I honestly think he did really good. I think he had a good, complete skill set, loads of wicked boot. I loved the breathing because, like you say, I thought he was just controlling it. Don't forget it's extra loud because there's no crowds, so you can hear it. You couldn't just hear it, you could see his cheeks puffing, but it was quite noisy, which I don't have an issue. I'm just saying that also might be why it got picked up on. It's like, well, he's breathing heavy. It's like, no, he weren't breathing heavy. They were all controlled breaths. And you absolutely hit the nail on the head. He fought like he had decent cardio, that he wasn't out of breath. He fought the same way all the way through. So good on him.
Let's be honest, his strongest round was the final round. They're not the actions of someone who's gassed out. Simple as that. So shut your face.
It's a good fight.
Don't know what you're chatting about.
He don't know what he's chatting about, a mug. It's a good it's a good fight and a good performance by both.
It was, yeah. The last round, sort of after that big punch landed, lacked much excitement because it was just a case of Means doing what he had to do to get to that final bell to get a win. I liked what Means said as well at the end. He goes, Dalby owns a couple of wins over people who have beaten him, so he kind of feels like he got those wins back a little bit. Now, obviously, he hasn't. But I like the essence of it. Like, I've sort of shown I've got the skill level to beat a guy who beats people that have beaten me in the past. So I kind of feel like I'm progressing.
It was brilliant. It showed a hell of a lot of awareness of the bloke that he was fighting.
Yeah.
I like the thought behind it as well. It was good chats, that.
Yep.
We've agreed he's amazing. So we're just
brilliant, except for the only thing that's crap about him is blowing his nose all over the cage.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're in a fight, you've got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, like we've said, he's the Dirty Bird, and that's that. You agree to fight him, you're going to have to get dirty. The next fight then, Andre Touchy-Feely versus Daniel the Pit Pineda. I mean, what a fantastic first round that was. Bloody amazing. Brilliant. Feely went out there, smooth striking combos, hip toss. I tell you what, Pineda, he's a tough son of an Ingers, isn't he, him? I was flipping qual that.
Yeah. I think this is the fight that I wanted to talk about most.
Go for it. It's why we're here. This is dare I say it, a talk show.
Well,
that's it.
Andre Touchy-Feely. He's someone who he's grown into sort of the UFC. Is it? Like we've said before about Sugar Sean O'Malley, maybe his body isn't the final conditioned version yet. He's got to take a few more knocks and his body will get, stronger and more solid. I already think he's starting to look stronger and more solid.
Yeah.
And Feely's got that kind of touch about him that when I first saw him in the UFC, I was like, who's this bandy bloke here? He looks a bit weak, a bit slappy with his strike and stuff like that. But I think you can really see that he's put in the effort, that he's someone who has done martial arts for years now. And I think he's really good. And I think he's been lucky with a few fights, a few decisions that just slightly haven't gone his way. He seems to have lost sort of some big breakout sort of fights just at the wrong time. I mean, if I look here at his record, he's got 3 split decisions in his last 8 fights and also 1 no contest. So he's got 3 split decisions and 1 no contest in his last 8 fights. So he's kind of, I don't know, I think he's a guy who's actually decent and he can't catch a break or can't go on a bit of a tear, the usual comment. There's always like a little loss in there that sort of seems to stop his momentum and stuff. But I actually think he's really, really good. Pineda, he was obviously in the UFC years ago, wasn't he? Got cut and then came back and had a good performance when he came back. And he, like you say, he's a tough son of a gun and all that sort of stuff. But he was swinging too wild. It's like what we were saying with Jeremiah Wells. He's putting too much power into all his shots. It meant that his defensive positioning was compromised after he threw his strikes. His strikes were coming up a bit short because they were so tense and so tight. He was tough because he definitely did want to carry on.
Yeah.
But Obviously, we've seen some people that we question whether they've wanted to carry on, naming no names, Funkmaster
Well,
and
before you get
but,
on, that's the bloke. Well, before you get onto this bit, then we'll say the story of the fight. There was an eye poke in the second round by Feely. That's what made it a no contest. The fight was absolutely brilliant while it lasted.
it was
But Pineda
chaos.
was lying.
Pineda landed some some decent strikes early on, but it seemed that
Yeah,
Feely kind of got the measure of him, got his range, and really was picking him off. And it looked like it was just a matter of time before he got. I mean, he kind
it
of
looked like it, but yeah,
almost did get out there a couple of times, didn't he? But
but
it
we
looked
won't
like
know because he got a finger in his eye.
that's right.
And so he went over to the neutral position for the doctor to come and check it out. And he was constantly saying, "Listen, I'm all good." And Herb Dean was going, "Just calm down. We'll let your eye relax and open it again. You need to open it for the doctor so he can check it out. Don't worry, we've got plenty of time. Calm down." He says to him, "Look, I'm all good. Let's go." And the doctor says, "No, hold on. Let's do a couple more checks first." So he does the old, "How many fingers am I holding?" He gets it wrong. The doctor looks at Herb Dean. Herb Dean waves off the fight, and that's the end of that fight. So he obviously couldn't see. And what got on my nerves at the time is I was doing what I normally say. I was going, "What happened to the 5 minutes?"
Can I stop you there? 'Cause it's quite important.
Well, I know what happened to the 5 minutes now.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, go on.
Right. But
Yeah.
I was thinking, what has gone on with the 5 minutes? So I thought when I chat to him about this, I'm going to say, I'm sick and tired of this 5 minute rule crap that never gets put into play. Give him 5 minutes. But then later on, they said it on the broadcast, didn't they? But I was waiting for the full 5 minutes. I still don't know why he didn't get a chance for his eye to calm down, for it to open on its own, for him to be able to read how many fingers were coming up. Why don't he get the 5 minutes? What I mean by that is he doesn't get it as a rule. We now have learnt that it's still down to the discretion of the referee to go, I've got up to 5 minutes to decide whether I'm going to call this fight off or not.
Mm-hmm.
But why didn't? Okay, so I accepted that then, not at the time, because obviously I found that out later when they confirmed what the rule was on the broadcast. And I went, oh, okay, fair enough. But I still went, okay, so why did Hype Dean? Why did Hype Dean choose at that point to go, all right, well, I'm going to call it off then? Yeah, okay, I know why, because he said he could see and he couldn't. But why didn't he go, all right, well, at this moment in time, he can't see properly, but I've still got 3 minutes left or whatever it was. So let's wait. Why wave it off when the guy's standing there going, listen, I'll fight, no problem. So why did Herb Dean not give him the 5 minutes? What was the discretionary thing there? Just calling it off. Give him a minute. Maybe it'll clear up.
Well, firstly, I like how Herb Dean behaved with it, sort of calm down. I know that Dan Hardy might have an issue with it, but
maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought he was good, saying, listen, relax, calm down, no need to rush.
But then he went against that by just waving it off.
Okay, because I think it had already been a couple of minutes at that stage. And when you get to a point where a fighter can't see or states that they can't see, I think you're then not left with much option. I know that you could say, well, give him a few more minutes so you can get to open his eye. Maybe they should have done, I don't know whether this would help, but pouring a bit of water in it. I've been poked in the eye before, but, pouring a bit of water in it. I could see from the way his eye was, like flickering and having those little sort of spasms, so to speak, that it was still tender. He couldn't really open his eye at that point. And I agree that you could give him longer, but
well, that's what the time's for, isn't it?
Yeah, but I just think that once a fighter's basically messed up and proven that they cannot see how many fingers you're holding up, you're going to struggle to justify putting that fight back on. Even if you lived it another minute and then tested him again and he got it right, you could argue that he guessed it right. You can do a couple of tests.
Give it a few goes, didn't you?
You can. And look, he could get it right every time, but doesn't mean his vision isn't blurred, it isn't compromised. I think it was bad enough and long enough where I understood it, but obviously I didn't want it to be waved off because it's a very unsatisfactory ending to a fight. But imagine his eyesight, he had long-term damage or something. He's been sent out there to carry on having a smash up. It's just not worth the risk. I know why it got waved off, even if you can look at it and go, you should have let him carry on. Would you rebook that fight? Would you bother, or would you go, look, this was, Pineda was an accident waiting to happen here. He was going to get Feely. Feely moves on up. Pineda sort of stays at the same.
I don't know financially what impact it has rebooking these fights. So from a business, I don't know. But from the fighter's point of view, Feely can say he was winning that fight, and he was smashing him in, but he didn't win that fight, and he did the eye poke. So he's the reason that fight ended, not the other way around, because that does make a difference, right? And Pineda can now always say, well, I didn't lose. It's a no contest. That's why it's called a no contest. So yes, it does need rebooking, but I could understand why, from a business point of view, there probably could be an argument to go, I don't need to rebook fights like that at this level. Forget it, But I don't know that.
We've got a real like-for-like comparison, haven't we? Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad. Leon Edwards was seemingly, say, as dominant as Andre Feely was, but Leon Edwards was in control against Bilal Muhammad before an eye poke again caused an end to the fight. Again in round 2, I believe it was, or was it round 3 for Leon Edwards? Can't remember, but it was a fight that he was in control of, but he also caused the end of the fight. He also caused the fight to be a no contest, and they chose not to rebook that one because Bilal came in as a late replacement. So he sort of been in that slot anyway. I think we saw enough of that fight to go, Andre Feely is maybe just that little touch higher. And it was good at Pineda as well, wasn't it? At the end, he basically said, look, he was effing me up. There's no doubt about it. He didn't say then, go, I wanted to carry on fighting. I think I could have won that or anything like that. He said, guy was blazing me. I mean, he was smashing my face in. He was effing me up, and this sucks. So I know Pineda, like you say, he's definitely a tough guy, right? If they reboot that fight, there's no way he's not taking that fight and giving it a thought. I just don't see what the point is. I just think it showed Feely is probably at the moment just that little bit higher, and he's fought in higher level anyway. Feely, he's fought a lot of good guys. Let him sort of carry on that ascent and just hold Pineda at the level he's at.
Difficult, right? I'll tell you why I think this is difficult, because Feely is the cause for that fight. Whether it's accidental, fine. He's the cause for that fight ending, which means Pineda is going, well, look, it's a no contest. I deserve a rematch. And that is absolutely understandable. But I have to say, from Feely's point of view, not only would it just be, well, I was beating him up, it's not very fair to give him a rematch from Feely's point of view, because he's now seen my style, see the way I fight, and he will make adjustments for this second fight. But when we first met for the first time, I had his number. Now he may go away, the coaches have a look at it, he might come back and win that second fight. And that's kind of not fair, because I probably would have won that fight. So there is
that to be said for it, but I don't think he will be making adjustments. And don't forget, obviously, Feely has the advantage of seeing.
But if he did,
well, so it's
if he did, if he, like you've already said some of the things that he did that were wrong, and he'd go, right, okay, well, I won't do those things again. Thanks for letting me know, because he listens to this as well. And then he makes that adjustment, wins that fight. I'd understand him, Feely, going, this is really unfair, this, because I basically won that other fight. Now he's got another chance to see the way I fight and to make adjustments. That's what I would be saying.
He didn't win that fight, though, did he? That's the thing.
No one won it.
Yeah,
but it's Feely's fault.
I wouldn't rebook it, and I don't think, if I was Pineda's manager, I'd probably say to him, if UFC said, listen, we can rebook that fight if you really want to. If I was his manager, I'd probably say, no, don't. We'll meet him further down the road. How about that? But that night showed us enough that he's a little bit better than us at the moment. And we'll go away and we'll have a few smashes with some other people. And like I say, we'll meet him down the road if we're good enough. I just don't see what having another smash with him, what it fixes. That's what I would do. That's what I would advise if I was his manager or his coach. Forget it. We'll go and beat someone else up. What's Jai Herbert do? Yeah, it was a good fight. Now, what I want to ask you, eye pokes. Are they ever going to fix anything with these gloves? Can they fix anything with these gloves? And for me, I think they need to start clamping down on it. Eye pokes now are instant point, because let's not beat around the bush here. You mess that up badly, eye pokes, it's someone's vision that you could potentially be taking. There are really serious ramifications for this. This ain't sort of like, oh, well, it's a punch that went a bit low and you hit someone in, the top of the groin. This is real, could have life-changing effects. So as far as I'm concerned, we ain't talking about a fence grab, which we'll get onto later with the Tanabosa thing. This ain't cheating. It's not even cheating, right? It's purely accidental. I don't doubt that in 99.9% of circumstances. Because the ramifications are so severe, I think they need to stamp it out. And if they can't find a fix with the gloves, etc., I think they need to start saying, if you land an eye poke, if there's an eye poke, it will be checked on camera to make sure it's a legitimate eye poke. And if it is, it's a point, immediate, done. No arguments.
Well, I think an immediate point is one way to solve the problem. They've tried to fix it, haven't they, by telling fighters not to do this and only to do this or this. But that's a human error thing, and you're not taking the human error out of it. People are still going to do this. That's why it's called an accident. You know, that's how you naturally defend. It's pretty natural to put your fingers out, I think.
Yeah,
what I have heard in the past is that the Bellator gloves are way better.
Yeah,
I can't remember who said it. It might have been Michael Chandler. I think it might have been him. Someone said that if you want to open your hands in Bellator gloves, you have to open them. You have to force them open. So you can open them, and you can freely grapple with them, but you have to go against the glove. Whereas the UFC ones, your fingers are just out.
There's a natural curvature in the glove.
They're out. Yeah, exactly. They're out already, and you don't need to do anything to extend your fingers. Whereas these, you have to go, I am going to extend my fingers. Now, I don't know if any research has been done, but it's an organization. There's regular fights. There's thousands of fights. Do a percentage thing. Get some data. How much eye poking is there in Bellator in comparison to UFC? Obviously, do the data properly. There'll be more UFC fights than there will be Bellator. There'll be some human error involved. Some people stick their fingers in. But there'll be some data to be there. Whether the UFC can, I mean, they should do it, but whether they go, well, I'm not going to copy Bellator's gloves or whatever, it's like, don't worry about that. Like you said, it's people's eyes and careers. Just get on with it. If there's better gloves.
It's also not copying, is it? A glove's a glove. So what, you make the glove a little bit rounder or this, that, and the other, stick UFC branding on them. It's a UFC glove.
Yeah, who makes them? Bellator probably don't make those gloves. They're just gloves that Bellator use and then put Bellator on them. So if they make eye pokes less frequent, and to me, I don't know why it hasn't happened already. If I know that, and I'm now, you know, I'm just chatting about this with my mate, I know that, then other people know it. And if it helps fix the problem, might not make it completely go away, but there's that could be done.
Yeah.
So, and I think Whitman's sewing some gloves at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah. All right. Well, we won't worry about that. But yeah, I agree. It's a simple thing to draw some data on. And as you
Find
say,
out if it's for the benefit of protecting the fighters and not having this problem all the time and fights being stopped. Because financially, it's a bad thing, right? Do you still pay him? And the fight, I've got to pay him his full money. Who in a no contest? What do you get? You both get your show money and no win bonus.
Imagine somebody loses their eyesight over this. What's that going to cost?
Not worth it.
If they can send a man to the moon, can they? Though, have they ever been there? Really? If they can send a man to the moon, then that's the Eddie Bravo episode. That if they can send a man to the moon, then they can make some gloves that at least reduce the amount of eye pokes there is. I hate watching the replays. Just think about it from the viewer perspective as well. You know, it makes my feet tingle when I see fingers going into the eye socket. I mean, it's really, really. I told you the Bilal Muhammad one where he's pulling his eyelid away from his eyeball looks like something from a bloody horror movie. It's horrible. So just fix it for that reason alone.
The glove manufacturer / supplier / buyer for the UFC, as you know, is watching this, and you've told him, get it sorted.
I reckon that's what he's done. He bought in such a bulk lot at the start, like probably about 5 years ago. He's probably saying to Dana, we can't switch now. I've got full of them. Yeah, I've got another 10,000 to get through first. You
mentioned it very briefly. There was a hell of a lot of swearing in that post-fight interview. One by, what's his name? Feely. And a lot by Pineda. I mean, like 4, 5, 6 in a row. And the truck didn't pick up on any of it. They didn't block any of it out. None of it was silence. None of it was beep. Nothing. It was just swearing. No one said anything. DC never said out, I ain't offended. I'm all good. What I'm saying is a lot of... Hey?
There's post-watershed in the UK, so who cares?
No. Yeah, okay. Well, you say that, right? But a lot of the other corner chats where they're swearing, it's blanked out and you can't hear either the post-fight interview or the corner chats because they're on a time delay and they blank it out. I just don't know. The bloke must have been in the toilet or something.
Right, on his lunch break.
Because he didn't catch any of it. There you go. Yeah, just saying I picked up on.
What about when Feely touched DC's suit?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I thought it was a good little laugh.
Kind of swiped his hand away as if say, like, all right, get off my suit now, please. So,
You
let Avia bleed all over it and went, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, and gave her a cuddle and let her bleed on the other side. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but Feely just straightens it up and you basically palm his hands away.
I think that Feely was trying to do something a bit humorous to say, like, yeah, he looks smart and everything.
Yeah, that's
because
it.
At the end of it, he alluded to it again and said something like that again, like, oh, you look qual. Don't worry about that. Never mind. Like, you look qual. But maybe, and I don't know this for sure, maybe DC took it as, I know it ain't going around my gut, because that's might have been how he took it. Like trying to, this don't fit round you. Might be. I don't think that's how Feely meant it. But DC might have taken
straighten it up as if say, like, like you would with your kid on his first day of school.
Yeah, it was good. It was just like, oh, smart suit. That's the way I took it. But
that's the way I took it as well. But yeah, maybe Cormier had already popped the buttons off it earlier when he tried to do it up.
Yeah, well, he's normally pretty good about that stuff anyway. But on live telly, trying to call him out on it, he probably didn't appreciate it. But I don't think he was doing that. Next fight. Okay. Now R's are H's, ain't they? Hayoni Barcelos versus Timur Lucky Valiev. This is that bloke you like who does that head shake move.
Yeah, that's right. The head paint. Well, we like both of them. At Barcelos, he's
brilliant.
He's mini Aldo. He's Aldo 2.0.
No difference. Looks exactly the same.
Yeah, he's the Aldo for the new generation, basically. Looks the same, fights the same. He's wicked as well. Obviously not as good as Aldo, not yet anyway. But yeah, he's good. Lucky Valiev, I think, sounds about right.
In this fight, I agree. Lucky, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he didn't win rounds 1 and 3, but how round 2 is not a 10-8, I don't know. Now, some people might get the ump with that, but how on earth can you put the same importance or decisiveness of a round victory for round 1 and 3 as round 2? Round 2, Valiev was basically knocked out pretty much twice.
It was right at the end of it, though, wasn't it?
You score that round the same as, say, round 3, where the strike count was there was a couple of strikes in it, or round 1 where there's a couple of strikes in it, or not much activity. You simply can't. Barcelos absolutely smashed him to pieces in that second round. If that's not a 10-8, I'm not saying it's the most decisive 10-8 I've ever seen, but if we can't give 10-8s for that, it proves how broken the 10-9, must system is for MMA. It's only 3 rounds. It works in boxing because it's over 12 rounds. The importance of a 10-9 round is diluted over the course of a longer fight. In MMA, it's so important because it's just 3 rounds. You lose that first round, you've got to win everything after that to win the fight. And Barcelos, he smashed him to pieces. As far as I'm concerned, he did beat him twice in that second round. Ref didn't wave it off, but another ref might have. If that's not a 10-8, if you're telling me that second round, Barcelos won that second round by the same decisiveness that Valiev won rounds 1 and 3, as far as I'm concerned, you either don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
But that's it. You don't know what you're talking about. It's a 10-8 round.
In that case, I agree.
Valiev should have lost. I think it should have been a draw.
Well, in that case, I agree, because I know what I'm talking about.
Yep, brilliant.
Well, that's the end of it. Okay, next fight.
Yep. But it's true, though, right? How can it not be a 10-8?
I can't remember exactly, but I'm going to ask, was it the whole of that fight? I seem to think that he knocked him down towards the end of it and kept him on his back. And
yeah, I think it might have been about the last, say, minute or 2 minutes.
Right.
But he didn't just knock him down as in there was a flash knockdown, or he tripped over his own feet, or he just landed a good strike and it was a flash knockdown and then he followed him down to the ground. The guy was looking into space. He was one small punch away from, joining Brendan Schaub and Luke Rockhold in the sort of classic knockout sort of,
stratosphere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was almost smashed into the next realm a couple of times as well, because he knocked him down hard, and then when he got back up, he smashed him with an uppercut as well.
That was such a brilliant move. The timing on that. He stood back up and smashed him down with the uppercut. Yeah, that uppercut was amazing.
Yeah, and I think, I'd have to rewatch it, but I think I thought I leaned towards Valiev in rounds 1 and 3, but they were rounds where I was like, Definitely round 1 he secured just through being busier. It wasn't that decisive, but he was a lot busier. Round 3 was pretty close, I think, as well. I do think I gave Valiev rounds 1 and 3. But if I judge that fight as a whole, and I looked at that fight as a whole, who would I have said won that fight? To me, Barcelos. Now, I appreciate that fights aren't scored that way, so I'm happy to concede and go, well, Valiev got 2 rounds, Barcelos dominated 1 round, so he got that 10-8, so it was a draw. I'm happy to concede that. But how has Valiev come away from a fight winning it? By the way, I think he's wicked, Valiev. Not just good, I think he's really good. But how's he come away from that, winning it, when, let's be honest, the only real massive decisive moments were all in Barcelos' favour?
Yeah,
Barcelos was the only one who came close to finishing that fight.
That's right. I think there is something to be said for that, but I'm always going to have to stick on, as you've just said, the way these fights are scored. And it's 3 rounds and it's point-based. And your argument of the 10-8 and it being a draw, of course, that totally stands up. But if it weren't the 10-8, then Timur won that, and he won it because
I agree with that.
Because, he won it on points and it's a sport and that's all there is to it. But, so the draw thing makes sense.
But what's the point of having a 10-8 scoring system if you're never going to give a 10-8 when someone almost gets smacked out of the arena?
Well,
how can you say round 1 or round 3 were in any way comparable to round 2? They weren't. One was won so clearly, so decisively.
Yeah, but hang on.
Almost not at the end of the round when he went and sat on his stool, he was still wobbly. He was literally 1 punch away from finishing the fight on numerous occasions. Name me a big punch that Valiev landed or a big combination. I bet you can't name anything, right? But we can name stuff that Barcelos done. I'm not even arguing that Barcelos should have got the decision. I'm saying it should have been a draw. But I just look at that fight and I go, but I know how he won it because he was good, he was busier, he landed some decent strikes. But that's it. Some decent strikes. Barcelos should at least have got a draw out of that. Otherwise, what's the point in 10-8 rounds?
Well, bloody hell, anyone would think you put your old purse on this fight. You know what I mean?
I've done a Justin James on it.
Yeah, you guitarioed yourself.
I just don't. So when the 10-8s get given, there was a card, a few cards back, and Bisping was doing commentary. And somebody was basically spent the whole round on top of someone, but they weren't doing much destructive ground and pound. It was just a lot of ground control for about 4 minutes. And Bisping went, "Oh, was that a 10-8? Might have been a 10-8." And I was like, "Why is that a 10-8? He didn't come close to finishing the fight. Okay, he dominated position, dominated ground control time, but he didn't come close to doing much damage or finishing the fight. And you're arguing for a 10-8. Yet Barcelos can. I know Bisping wasn't commentating, but Barcelos can literally smash someone into the next stratosphere, as you put it, and he don't get a 10-8.
Hang on. When you're judging it, you go, all right, that's what I'll give him for round 1. And then you go, that's what I'll give him for round 2. And then when round 3 comes, you can't change it, if you know what I mean. You can't rebalance.
I'm not looking to change it. I would have given it a 10-8.
But because you said that round 2 is the equivalent of round 1 and 3, if you know what I mean.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, but when he gets to score in round 3, the bloke who gave a 10-9 in round 2 can't then go, should have been 10-8. It's too late.
Of course, yeah. But that's why
So maybe he thinks that now, but
that's why he should have given a 10-8 at the time.
Well, I know, but maybe he thinks that now. It's too late.
Yeah, but why not score it as you see it?
I don't know.
Round 1 and gone 10-9. He should have seen what round 1 and gone 10-9 Valiev, and then saw round 2 and went, was that in any way comparable to the 10-9? And gone, no. One was a clear, decisive pounding, and one was just a scrape through 10-9.
Well, he probably thought Valiev won that round and Barcelos won that one, and then it got to round 3 and it's too late to go back. That's it. And all three of them thought the same, didn't they?
Yeah, well, it seems to me that not only do I need to do Shelby and Maynard's job, I need to do what is his name? Guy DeFranco.
Gary DeFranco, yeah.
Gary DeFranco, I need to do his job. I need to do the job of the bloke who's making the UFC gloves. I need to do his job. That's now been established. And now I need to do the judge's job as well, because...
And there's another one.
Go on.
Design the kit, the uniforms.
Oh, yeah, because Venom are absolutely doing it.
Yeah, terrible as well, yeah. Look, what I will say, though, controversy aside, is another decent fight.
Was a good one.
I'm telling you, mate, I liked this card. That was another good fight, that. Next fight, then. I know.
I know I went off on a rant on that one, but I just...
No bother. If you bet your whole purse, it's understandable. But just learn from Justin James and how he took it. He took it on the chin. So you got to do the same. Just relax with it.
All right. Sorry.
Give yourself up to 5 minutes to calm down.
I'll do some Dolby breaths.
Yeah. That's it. Deep ones. Ovin St. Preux versus Tanner the Bulldozer Boza. So, I mean, this OSP at heavyweight's doing me nothing.
Yeah, forget that experiment.
Yeah, right. I don't understand it. He has done it before, hasn't he? This ain't the first time.
He's done it a few times, and it don't work.
It don't.
He looks scared of heavyweights, doesn't he? I don't know why. He looks scared of them. He just becomes so defensive. Doesn't
just
throw
don't do it. He
didn't
do nothing. Don't throw nothing, right? Now, this was Tanner Boza. This was his last fight on his contract.
Okay.
So, and he'd lost his previous 2.
Mm-hmm.
So in his mind, and he said this, he's fighting for his job. He's got to win this fight.
Yeah.
And you know what? Brilliant. He went out there and he made sure of it, didn't he? Right from the go, he went, I've got to win this one. And it looked like it. It looked like he felt the need to win this fight. And he did. He just sorted it and went, well, I'm winning this one. That's it. I think he's good.
I think he's all right. Yeah, he's not bad for a heavyweight. It's this and the main event. It's nice to see some heavyweights that are in decent shape, decent physical shape, that look like they can fight for a good few rounds. Because even OSP looks decent at heavyweight, right? He doesn't turn up like Jake Collier, just like the big massive gut, as if he's just been training on McDonald's for the last 3 months. So. Yeah, I think he's not bad, Boza. I doubt he would have got cut just because the heavyweight division is so light, and he's also won a couple as well. So he's had.
Don't know though, does he? He's got to be sure.
That's right. He does know, and he made sure that he goes into those contract negotiations in a much stronger position than if he lost. Right? If he lost, he'd have had to pretty much take whatever the UFC threw his way. But now he can go in there with a little bit more like, look, I'm doing okay in the heavyweight division. Heavyweight division's a bit dry. I've had some finishes, so
he sorted it out. He smashed him in. Got the KO in round 2 on OSP.
What do you think about the cage grab?
I agreed with Paul Felder. I don't know if that is a cage grab or not. Then they showed a very, very good angle that was right straight on. And as far as I'm concerned, there was no cage grab. And Felder said it a little bit before, and DC went, yeah, all right, Paul, like that. And he went, what, am I wrong? I'm not sure. I'm just saying I'm not sure. I'd have to see it from the ring. I ain't sure it definitely was. Then it showed that angle, and DC never said now else.
Yeah.
I'll teach him for being so arrogant about it, because it was questionable, and I didn't see no fence grab. At the time I did, but on the replay, there's no fence grab. It was knuckles pushed in and leaving himself up. I don't think he grabbed. I thought it was questionable at the time because I never saw any fingers above the gloves.
It's questionable now. I'd like to see a camera angle outside the cage, because even though he could put his fist on the cage and not put his fingers through, he could still have just slipped through the pinky or the one next to it and just leverage it. Just because the way he kind of managed to get some purchase on it and shift his body weight when you got a 230 odd pound man on top of you, seems like that would be quite hard to do just with a closed palm. But I do think he said I didn't grab it, and that's good enough for me, because he's saying that, and also the images also lean towards it not being a cage grab. So as far as I'm concerned, it's nothing really more.
And the ref never stopped it. The ref just warned him not to do it.
Now OSP is raising an appeal, isn't he? Because he said that Herzog touched him, and that split-second sort of hesitancy because of being touched by the referee, he says changed the course of the fight, because he thought that the ref was getting involved for some reason or another.
Well, he was getting involved for some reason or other. He was trying to help OSP keep his opponent on the ground by questioning a fence grab. So it was actually helping OSP.
Yeah, look, it's
OSP needed all the help he could get by the bloody looks of it. Knowing him, though, he could have submitted him once he got him down on the ground, because he does that very often. And I did think that was going to happen at that point. I thought, oh, he's going to get done.
Mm.
But he didn't. Yeah, and the OSP he did nout in that fight. Sorry.
The heavyweight version needs banning. As you know, it's the heavyweight version is as irritating as that tongue out movie does.
Oh God, yeah, we didn't get to see
Both
that.
those things need banning. But
They do, yeah.
OSP's all right. He's been hanging around for ages, but just stay light heavyweight. I appreciate the grind, but he just don't work. But what would
No.
you say about Boza and his takedown defense? Because there's a problem against Latifi, cost him that fight. He got taken down by, let's be honest, a light heavyweight OSP here. Is that a bit of a concern for you? I think if I was these coaches, I'd be a bit worried that everyone would be going in there going, just take him down.
We'll put him up against that razor blade bloke then. Let's see what happens there.
What, Alexei Olenek?
For God's sake, razor blade, Curtis.
Oh, Curtis. No, he's not ready for him yet. Olenek would be quite good, I think.
Oh, yeah, the granddad bloke, yeah.
Yeah. Because he's one-dimensional. He wants to get people to the mat. Let's see if Boza can hold him off. And it just seems that people seem to have a bit too much of an easy time getting him down to that mat.
Yeah, I'd rather see Boza against Mark Hunt.
Why is he coming back?
Double smash up, innit?
He's all right, Boza, isn't he? He does.
Yeah, or Tuivasa. Get him against Tuivasa.
What about Spivak?
Yeah, Spivak. Yeah, we could have a Spivak in it as well. Yeah, there's a number of different versions of him going around. Yeah. Well, look, it's good. I hope he don't get cut. I mean, he shouldn't do now. He won that fight. He's put himself in a good position. I think he's good. And you've just mentioned the next fight because there's nothing more to say on that other fight.
Agreed.
There's another two very good heavyweights. Not saying the fight was good. Ciryl Bongamin Gane. What's Bongamin mean, please?
Well, Bon means good. That's all I can say.
Yeah, okay. What's Gamin? So it's like a good sat nav, yeah?
Yeah,
Ciryl, good sat nav, Gane.
That's Garmin, isn't it?
Versus Alexander Drago Volkov. That was the next fight. It's the main event for this card. I'm waiting to find out what Bon Gamin means.
It means good kid.
I like it.
I ain't got much to say on this fight. I didn't particularly enjoy it. It's the second Gane fight on the trot that I haven't enjoyed.
Okay.
What I do like is Volkov, the fact that he has clearly, I think they mentioned that he's put on about 25 pounds, but he looks like to me like he's put it on the right way. We mentioned it earlier, Feely, Sugar Sean O'Malley, when they first came to the UFC, they still looked a little bit...
wiry.
Yeah, wiry. That's a good way of putting it. Whereas they've now sort of transformed their bodies into being still wiry. They're still on the thinner side.
Still long and lean, but they look more thick and solid.
Yeah, that's it. They look solid. And Volkov looks like he's done that as well. His legs look solid. His body looks solid. He doesn't look so weak and easy to push around.
He ain't overly muscular, but he's
correct.
A lot bigger. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so I think he's done a real good change, and I think his last few performances have been really good. I didn't really like this performance because I don't think he had enough faith in his hands. And I think he's shown a really nice jab the last few fights, like a really nice laser focus style jab. That was non-existent this fight. When he did let his hands go and threw a couple of right hands, there was a couple of times where they landed and they did register. I'm not saying they put Gane in any kind of trouble, but they definitely registered.
Yeah.
Perhaps if he'd done that a bit earlier and a bit more often, it may have had Gane backing up a little bit, being a little bit more cautious with his own attacks. And I felt that it was we had a little bit of the case of the Adesanyas here, where the commentary team were absolutely in love with Gane and everything he does. I mean, they only had to put his shorts up and they'd wax lyrical about it. But yet Volkov was landing and got a lot of good leg kicks and throwing some good kick combinations. Throwing combination, then finishing with a couple of leg kicks. I thought he's doing some good stuff here, and they rarely picked up on it. And I thought the first round arguably was Volkov's. Arguably. I think they said round 4 he had a good round.
I agree. The first round definitely was.
Yeah, I think Volkov got the first round. Round 4, you could maybe stretch and say he maybe. I wouldn't have given it to him, but if someone said they did give it to him, I wouldn't go Barcelos mad over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was pretty straightforward. 49-46 for me to Ciryl Gane. And I just think Volkov, I think they said to him in the corner, whoever gets this last round wins the fight. So maybe
Yeah, that's right.
got rounds 1 and 4. But no, I think that was being very hopeful.
Yeah, I think Gane won them all apart from the first one. But you've said that you didn't. It was another Ciryl Gane fight that you didn't like or didn't enjoy watching. That's fine, but he wasn't terrible in this fight. It wasn't like what was it, Rosenstrike? Was it that fight?
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was in that fight.
No,
he was much better.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, him and Rosenstrike still haven't had a fight.
No, there definitely wasn't a fight. What was the fight I mentioned? That it might have been on the prelims. I said I loved it because these two blokes come out and had an absolute smash. Pacino and whoever. Who's the other fella?
Pacquiao and Villanueva.
See, now that was a fight. That was a fight. No one cared about scorecards or time limits. That was a flipping fight.
Yeah. Andre Fili, Daniel Pineda. That was a
smash. Flipping brilliant, right? That Rosenstrike Gane fight wasn't a fight. Yeah. This was, both of them tried, but I think Gane tried more than Volkov, and that's why he won. I just don't think Volkov, like you say, the confidence didn't seem very confident in his ability. And I don't know why. I don't know what he felt or what he saw from Gane. I mean, Gane's fast. There's no doubt about it. I think he's speeds, but he's got all the length and the range, big long kicks. He didn't do enough body kicks. No, not enough no upper body kicks really. It's mostly leg kicks. I don't know. It wasn't a terrible fight, but it wasn't fun or interesting to watch. There was no story. It was a bit of a grindy.
Yeah, it's just a plod through 5 rounds, wasn't it? Towards the
end. Yeah, it wasn't entertaining. There you go.
Look, we obviously don't feel what they feel, and it only takes Gane to have landed a big punch or a big kick early on that made Volkov far more apprehensive than he would have been perhaps in other fights.
Yeah,
maybe that's what happened. But like I say, one thing he's had, especially the last couple of fights, is a nice long jab. Being as tall as he is and stuff like that. That's a very effective weapon. I don't know how many jabs he threw that fight, but it felt like it was next to nothing. It felt like it was hardly any.
Yeah, I can't remember. Only a couple, I think.
He relied almost solely on leg kicks and no jabs, no right hands, hardly. It just felt like a performance where he was a bit just too apprehensive, like you said, didn't believe in himself enough, didn't have the confidence. And
bit of a sparring match, innit?
Yeah, it was that, yeah. And it was
mates in the gym having a little see who can get the better of each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have a go, I have a go, that kind of stuff.
I mean, Ciryl Gane landed 135 of 255 strikes. Volkov landed 115 of 241. That's why I just felt like the commentary was a little bit
pro-Gane.
A little bit lopsided. But if you look, Gane landed 60 head strikes compared to 41 from Volkov, 35 to the body compared to 18 of Volkov, and then legs, Volkov outlanded 56 to 40. Round 1, Volkov landed 9 more strikes in round 1. So that kind of lends weight to what we're saying, that we felt he won the first round.
Thank you.
Just because he landed more according to these fight stats doesn't tell the full story, does it? But there was no grappling really to speak of, and maybe you can't win, can you? If you don't count leg kicks and you get told off for not counting leg kicks, and if you count leg kicks, people go, "Oh, we didn't really land any significant punches to the face." You just can't win sometimes. But even round 2, 24 strikes landed for Gane against 22 Volkov. Round 3 was pretty dominant, 42 to 23 in favor of Gane. Round 4, 29 to 21 in favor of Gane. And then round 5, surprisingly, was 24 to 24. So dead even.
Evens, yeah.
But I mean, just the fact that you had one guy constantly coming forward, controlling where the fight was taking place, and the other guy, it was a bit like we were speaking about that fight the other week, where it just seemed that one guy was fighting to fend the other guy off, whereas the other guy was coming forward to throw strikes.
Yeah.
So a clear win for Gane. I'm not convinced though that he's a champion in weighing or anything like that.
Is this because of the mental attitude, the grit? Are we going to say he ain't got enough grip on? Because we ain't seen it.
You know what? I regret saying that, because thinking about the heavyweight division now, I could see him beating a Miocic.
I think he's qual.
Yeah, I think I could see him beating Miocic. I could see him beating. He obviously has beaten Rosenstruik, even though he hasn't. I could see him beating pretty much all of them. Is the truth. Even Ngannou, I think his striking is tighter, more compact, and better
Yeah,
than.
yeah,
See,
definitely way better.
Destructive power, perhaps.
Well, that's the thing. Or we haven't seen him go through a firefight and test himself where he's got a bloke all over him or taking some shots. You know, like over him, he was quite good at getting smashed to bits and then still standing there and going, "All right, see if you've got any more than that." We ain't seen much of him, and maybe that's testament to how good he is.
We haven't really seen anyone try and grapple heavy approach. Not that I can remember.
I ain't seen anyone try and smash his face in either, really.
So
that's the problem.
You thought you'd get that from Rosenstruik, right? But he took the night.
As a martial artist in that division, apart from the ground, which I ain't seen, I think he's one of the best. He has had a submission win, I think,
He has had submission, a couple in the UFC, an arm triangle and a heel hook.
Well, there you go, right? So he's definitely well-rounded. I think he's good. I think he looks good. He's he changes stances whenever he likes. He can fight from both leads. I think he's good. He's fast. He's, like you say, lean. He's in shape. But I still haven't seen that tested. I haven't seen someone pushing him up against the cage for 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes or whatever. I ain't seen someone constantly trying to drag him to the floor and him defending takedowns. I haven't seen him having to defend a load of different striking. We ain't seen it. That's why it's hard to back him and go, yeah, he's the best. But like I say, on paper, the way he looks, he looks very, very talented in martial arts for sure. I think he's good. But we'll see when he's put under some serious fire,
You have to say there's not really too many more fights out there for him outside of a title shot, is there?
The American footballer bloke, Star Striker, or whatever his name is.
Star Striker.
I can't remember his name. He's my favourite bloke. I think he's been cut. He got done for roids, but he done a comeback. For God's sake, he is all upright and gets into smashes. No. No, he's crap. He gets his face smashed in loads. Big square head. Oh, we'll find him later. I can't remember. He's one of my favourite fighters in it, and I can't remember his name. That's a good favourite, isn't it? Come on, the bloke. He's an American football bloke, I think.
Oh, Chase Sherman.
Yes, Star Striker, Chase Sherman.
That's because I was thinking of the top 10 sort of people.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
He's ranked number 3, Gane, and now you've just picked out Sherman, who's.
I still don't know how you got it from that, but yeah, brilliant. Now he's brilliant. Let's have him in there.
Gane, you have to say, there's not really much else out there for him, much left there for him, other than the title shot. You could put him in against the Blades if you really wanted to see how he was against somebody, a real.
Him again.
A real
razor off.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put him. I'll just give him the winner of Ngannou's first defense. So,
all right. Well, that's it then. Thanks very much. That's the main card for Gane versus Volkov. We'll see you for the next one.
See you on the flip side.
Hello, mate.